Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about the purpose of life. And when people ask this question, I think it's very, you don't really understand the true meaning of purpose. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just explain it for you. Um, when people ask, what's the purpose of life? Well, it's a very human question because purpose is whatever person is viewing or perceiving that object. You can ascribe whatever purpose you want to that object. When you look at a tree and you ask what's its purpose, well, for the human who wants to construct a house, its purpose is wood to build the walls. Maybe if you're cold, it's wood to create a fire. For a environmental conservationist, that tree's purpose may be to help sustain the environment by producing oxygen or gathering nutrients in order to create a habitat for all the organisms that live in that tree. And so for different things, maybe the squirrel that lives in a tree, the tree has different purposes. And technically, all of those are viable purposes, and maybe you can view it as all of those being purposes for the tree. And then there's even more. Let's say you are a different type of environmental conservationist, and therefore this tree's purpose is to be set ablaze in order for it to fall and die and spread the fire in order to contain a forest. Because sometimes forest fires are a good thing. Otherwise, there's such a dense population that you're actually crowding out too much, and it gets too overpopulated, and it leads to less biodiversity, if any biodiversity at all, and little life because of a lot of factors. Maybe not enough nutrients in the ground, too many trees everywhere, too much shade blocking out the sun, which prevents a lot of necessary chemicals from the sunlight and everything else that comes with the sunlight, all the waves, ultraviolet rays and everything, to not pierce the floor of the tree, yada yada yada. So you get the point. And then if you take it from a scientific evolutionary science perspective, you could say that many things in life, living or dead, mainly living, their purpose is survival and reproduction. And you can see this by everything that they do. It's all through survival and reproduction. And many organisms have a very sort of tragic life when you look at it that way. As soon as they mate, certain spiders and certain ticks, as soon as they mate, they die because they've achieved their genetic goal of passing on their DNA to their offspring and repeating the cycle. Where everyone's heard the story about how the female spider consumes the male after mating for nutrients. And then there's other instances like the tick, the female tick, after she has caught a deer and sucked out as much blood as she can. She's this big, enormous thing that's just bloated, and if she falls off the deer, and then she has enough nutrients now to create hundreds of little offspring to go along, and she just dies. She's created and achieved her purpose of survival and reproduction. So, you know, purpose is what you ascribe it to, and I only really figured this out after asking a well-known YouTuber by the name of Dean Lazen, who talks about science and philosophy, all these questions. And I asked him one question on it, and that's what he said, basically how purpose is a very human thing to ascribe to things. And even when you look at that, survival and reproduction, well, one could question why anyone should do that. Like, why should that be your purpose? And as humans, many have chosen for this not to be their purpose. Um, what makes you so great for it to be your purpose? Um, what's so great if you achieve that purpose? Look at monks who have declared celibacy. Uh, Mother Teresa, who has declared celibacy. They've changed the world. Gandhi impacted the world in numerous ways, influenced it in numerous ways. And for them, they have ascribed their own purpose. They have chosen their purpose. Your purpose can technically be whatever you choose it to be in this world, because, no one really comes down to you and says this has to be your purpose. And so finding your purpose is really more so just deciding on your purpose after exposing yourself to everything about life and really deliberating through your mind. And so there's a huge difference between finding your purpose and what it truly means. And so you have these people like Martin Luther King Jr., who chose to make his purpose a huge impact, to have a huge impact on eliminating segregation. Or people like Gandhi or Mother Teresa, who have chosen to make their purpose a huge impact on how we view things and how we protest and how we live our lives. We don't have to be confined to life's purpose. And it is very sad. I mean, not really sad, but it's kind of sad and interesting how a lot of people in life have unfortunately decided to just follow what their bodies have, through genetics and DNA, pre-programmed them to feel as pleasurable. And I can't say it's completely a bad thing, but it is somewhat weird. Like, we are technically, in a lot of ways, pre-programmed robots. Not completely, but a lot of things, a lot of motives, a whole flurry of behaviors in life for many people can be attributed to wanting some sort of happiness that's been pre-programmed into their DNA. Whether it's sugar, consuming this element, or these molecules will provide a surge of happiness, good taste. It's all wiring and chemicals that shoot certain feelings into your brain. And who's to say, like, I feel like no one really questions, really, well, why should I eat candy? People do, and those people, they restrain themselves and they're healthy, which is great. But most people, in many facets of life, people indulge in women, people chase after women, people chase after sexual encounters, people chase after unhealthy food, people chase after resources, all these things, and a lot of it's attributed to survival and reproduction, as our genetics have wired us to do, up to a point where you can, if you're not careful, not be sated. You can acquire more money than you need or should healthily want, and just go overboard. And so again, it's like, okay, there's that evolutionary biology purpose of survival and reproduction, but going beyond that, you see that many people in life have chosen to make their purpose what they want. And the people who I respect the most are the ones who have made their purpose something great, something amazing, something very helpful to the world. And a lot of them have not done it for the glory or the ego or anything like that. Just look at Will Smith. He's made it a point to make his movies about impacting the world and motivating it and spreading a message that's motivational and inspirational and helpful. There's a whole philosophical debate about, well, is he really doing that? Can one really be truly completely selfless? Because no doubt he's he gets some level of happiness from it. And that gets into psychology, and that's a video on its own. Um, but your purpose technically is whatever you choose it to be. And when you're finding your purpose or finding yourself, I feel like when you're finding your purpose, it's really just figuring out and deciding after a lot of deliberation and exposing yourself to a lot of things, what you choose to make your purpose with your capabilities and where you think you can get to one day with your resources. And the second thing, finding yourself, I think it's more, you know how young people in their early 20s, they'll say stuff like, well, I haven't really found myself. I'm still trying to figure out who I am. And they're not really sure when you ask them what that really means. But I feel like it really means that you're not really finding yourself or figuring out what you are, as in there's some specific person that someone's already decided that's who you're going to be, and you just have to find it or figure it out. It's more so, again, if you really understand it, it's more so deciding who you want to be. Again, through similar things, reading, experiencing, gaining a lot of knowledge about the world, and figuring out what type of person you want to be. And unfortunately, not enough people really decide for themselves. They sort of let their genetics, what they're pre-programmed to do, or just the winds of fate, which really means just they just do whatever naturally feels right to them, which is a lot of wiring and stupid choices. But if you really just set a plan for yourself and really decide, well, I want to be a nice person. I want to help the world. And then you prepare yourself for those emotional outbursts, or maybe your daily activities on a day-to-day basis and interactions with other people. Slowly but surely you will start to adopt these things. Warren Buffett says something that's one of the best things ever. He's a great teacher in just character and being a person. He says, look at the people that you respect the most in life. Then look at the people you would respect the least. And list out the character traits on a piece of paper, what these people have. And what you'll find is that these are traits that you can adopt for yourself. You can choose and decide that from now on I want to have these traits or not have these traits. And it usually almost always won't be something physical, like I respect this man because he can throw a ball 100 feet in the air. And even if it is, I feel like a lot of these can be, I hate using this word, but dissected down to something qualitative. Like, I like the fact that he can throw a ball 100 feet into the air. And the real reason I like that is because it's much higher than anyone else can throw it. And he was able to do that by spending every day at the gym working on his biceps and triceps. And he did this an hour a day for 3 years. So what that really is respecting someone's diligence. Or maybe you can still run into something superficial. When I thought about it, it kind of goes contrary to what Warren Buffett says. He said, like, you'll never find it physical, but I mean, you can run into instances where it's like, well, he didn't really work. I respect this man because he can throw a ball 100 feet across the court. And no, I don't really respect his diligence because he was kind of born with this. He never really works out. I just like respect it because it's so awesome. I guess that can work, but do you really respect it or you just think it's cool? Generally, most of the stuff is going to be character traits, and it's probably one of the most amazing enlightening things ever. It's just like, wow, you can adopt these too. It's not like there's some huge barrier there. Will Smith says like he says greatness. A lot of people make the misconception that greatness is some sort of mythical, unattainable trait that only the superior elite among us will ever achieve. No, it's something that each of us has inside of us. But bringing it out can be tough. I do think that many, if not all of us, have great potential inside of us. But finding it, figuring out how to utilize it, and growing it out in the right way is a huge, huge task. And I think it starts with believing that you have it. I know it's one of the things that drives me a lot for a long time. You know, people can say what they want, and you may not have a lot of credentials to your name at all. But that belief, that undying belief that I occasionally have, it can push you further along, much farther along when many people would have given up. And that's sometimes what you need to get to that place. Steve Jobs said something similar. He said how it was somewhat similar. He says in his commencement speech. No, it wasn't commencement speech. It was his talk with Bill Gates. You need to find something that you're so. Well, he didn't say you need to find something, but he said that he was so deeply interested in this topic that any sane person would have given up because they weren't interested enough in this topic. So you have to love something so much that you're almost insane to continue it. And that led him past a lot of obstacles and hurdles where other people would have given up because they didn't enjoy it or were interested enough in the topic to continue. Because any sane person would have given up. So that's all I really want to say. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a very interesting topic, and I think I can go deeper, and I'm sure there's a lot of philosophers that can go even deeper, more in detail. But it's very interesting. Oh yeah, there's a couple more things I want to say. If let's say we create a artificially intelligent robot who has all the intelligence, give or take, of a human, the emotions and everything, which is technically close to an impossibility unless we, I mean, the human body is just built in very mysterious ways, not really mysterious, but very complicated ways where all the vessels and the hormones and the chemicals all work together to create emotions and everything, and I don't think that can really ever be fully accomplished mechanically. But let's say we do, or we come close, and it wakes up and everything, and then it gets trained, it gets briefed, it's intelligent, and let's say it now has the intelligence of a 20 or 30-year-old man or woman, and all of a sudden it asks you, well, what is my purpose in life? Well, technically you can tell this robot that I created you, and it may be the truth, I created you to entertain me, for instance. Let's say you make that the example. I created you to entertain me, and let's say it's true, you did create this robot to simply entertain you. What would happen from there? Would he freak out? Would he go on become very depressed because of his very simplistic, meager existence or purpose? Again, first off, I guess it depends on the personality of the robot, what parents they had, and its environmental influence, but it can go a lot of ways, but I'm sure most of the time it will accept its purpose and then just do a good job and just be happy about life. In addition, it could be like someone like me or other, I guess you could call them entrepreneurs. I'm not really an entrepreneur, but It could be like someone. It could have a personality like me, where it can silently or verbally accept its ascribed purpose, but then start thinking of other stuff it wants to do, other stuff um, in addition to the simplistic, boring task of entertaining this man in his free time. You start thinking of other purposes, and again, don't go crazy and think, "Oh my goodness, Terminator, the robot's going to do evil stuff." It can be like great purposes, not always though, but it can have. There can be great purposes too, like um, creating uh, towers for more humans to live peacefully, or uh, helping the world out, or raising it from poverty, stuff like that. Creating a new app or social network for the masses to help them be better in touch with their family. I don't know. And these can be additional purposes that this robot has chosen to put on. So I hope this has been food for thought. And if you are a ambitious, smart, thoughtful person, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. It'll let you know when I upload a new video for you to watch. Otherwise, leave a comment if you want and like this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped. See you.